Chapter 2. 2 weeks earlier. Sometimes Terry thought he tried to do too many things. Sometimes he knew he did. That week alone, in addition to his regular schoolwork and after-school job, he had to turn in a science project and chair a student council meeting. He also promised his little sister he'd help her learn to ride her new bicycle. His head was so full of his projects, he had to twirl the combination on his locker twice before he could get it to open. And after he did, he realized he'd been meaning to clean out his locker. It was hard to believe so much junk could fit inside such a small space. Carefully, Terry began to push aside his jacket, his tennis racket, half a dozen books, and the props for his science project. "It's here somewhere," he told himself. "I know it is." "What's somewhere?" asked a voice behind him. Terry turned, startled, to see Trisha McCormick standing behind him. Trisha was a short brunette with wiry hair and a bit of a weight problem. She was also the most friendly and enthusiastic person Terry knew. "Hi, Trisha," he said. "What did you say?" "Who were you talking to?" asked Trisha. Myself," said Terry. "I'm a real good listener." "Sorry," said Trisha, giggling. "I didn't mean to eavesdrop." "I was looking for my lunch," Terry explained. "Aha! There it is." Triumphantly, he pulled the rumpled brown bag from the jumble, noting with dismay that one whole side of it was wet, shoving the rest of the stuff. Back in his locker, he slammed the door. As he did, a piece of paper fluttered to the floor. "What's that?" said Trisha. "I don't know," said Terry. He picked it up and examined it. It was a plain white envelope with a black border. On the front, in ornate lettering, was his name, Terry Ryan. "Would you hold my lunch?" he asked Trisha. Curious, he opened the envelope. Inside was a stiff white card with a picture of a coffin on it. Beneath the coffin was written, "Reserved for you." "A coffin?" Terry said, starting to laugh. "What is this? An ad for a funeral parlor." "Turn it over," Trisha said. Terry did as she suggested. The other side was filled with writing. "Hey," he said. "It's an invitation to a Halloween party at Justine Cameron's place, right?" said Trisha. "Yeah," said Terry. "How did you know?" "I got one too," said Trisha. "Probably everyone in school did. But read what the invitation says. It's really weird. All-night Halloween costume party," Terry read. "All night. Hey, that's cool. Where's the weird part?" "Keep going," said Trisha. "Special surprises," Terry read. "Dancing games." "I don't see what's so." "Did you read where it is?" said Trisha. "Cameron Mansion, 8 p.m. Friday night, October 31st, Terry read. So that's the old Cameron Mansion," said Trisha. "The one that's out behind the cemetery on Fear Street." "You're kidding. How can anyone have a party there?" "No one's lived in that place for years," said Terry. "Justine and her uncle live there now," said Trisha. "They're fixing it up. I know because my father's firm is doing the electrical work." "Wasn't that house supposed to be haunted?" Terry asked. "Everything on Fear Street is supposed to be haunted," said Trisha. "Here's your squashed lunch back." "Thanks," said Terry. As he and Trisha walked to the lunchroom, he thought about some of the things he'd heard about Fear Street. Although perfectly ordinary people lived in some of its beautiful old houses, other homes were deserted and rumored to harbor evil spirits. Terrible things had happened on Fear Street, murders, mysterious disappearances. It seemed like the perfect spot for a Halloween party. "Why do you suppose Justine invited us to her party?" Trisha asked Terry at the cafeteria door. Terry shrugged. "Beats me," he said. "I don't even know her. I just know what she looks like." Everyone in the school knew what Justine looked like, Terry thought. She was the most beautiful girl at Shadyside High, maybe in the whole town. Even the girls thought so. She was tall and slim, and looked more like a model than a student, with her long shiny blonde hair and eyes as green as jade. Justine was a transfer student, new to Shadyside High, and so far, hardly anyone had gotten to know her, though most of the boys had tried. Terry was about to ask Trisha more about Justine when he spotted Nikki sitting at a table by the door. He excused himself and slid in across from Nikki so she'd be able to read his lips. "Hi, funny face," he said, calling her by his special pet name. "Hi, Terry," Nikki said, giving him a big smile. Terry suddenly felt like the most important person in the world. Nikki always had that effect on him. He'd been going with her 6 months now, and he still couldn't believe his good fortune. Nikki wasn't the prettiest girl at Shadyside or the smartest, but she was definitely the most special. When she came into a room, everybody automatically felt happier. When Nikki smiled, her even white teeth flashing against her smooth olive skin, it was like the sun coming up. "What you been up to?" Nikki asked him. "Nothing much," Terry said. "But look at this." He handed her the invitation. "I got one too," said Nikki. "Maybe everyone in the school did," said Terry. "I don't think so," said Nikki. "No one else in my homeroom got one. And none of my friends, like Jade and Dina, were invited." "I wonder why she invited us," said Terry. "I don't even know her. Do you?" "Not very well," Nikki admitted. "She's in my gym class, and I've played basketball with her. But we've hardly spoken to each other." Terry opened his lunch, noting that the leak was coming from his meat loaf and tomato sandwich, which had somehow gotten completely smashed. "Ugh," he said, looking at the gooey mess. "Here, have half of mine," said Nikki. She always ate the same thing, a peanut butter and banana sandwich with celery and carrot sticks on the side. "That's okay," said Terry. "Maybe I'll get a hot dog from the vending machine." "I can't believe the junk you eat," said Nikki. "At least have some carrot sticks." Terry took one and began to munch. "What are you going to go as?" asked Nikki. "What?" "To Justine's party. It's a costume party, remember?" "Oh, I don't know," said Terry. "Maybe we ought to just skip it. None of your friends are going, and we don't really know Justine." "So what?" said Nikki. "I love costume parties. Besides, I've never been to a party on Fear Street." "It would definitely be a first," said Terry. "So it's settled," said Nikki. "Besides, I'd like to get to know Justine better." "What's she like in gym?" Terry asked. "She's the best athlete in the class," said Nikki. "She's in really great shape. I asked her about it once, and she told me she lifts weights." Terry let out a low whistle. "Whoa," he said. "No wonder she's so." He let the thought trail off. "She's so what?" asked Nikki. She had a dangerous glint in her eyes. "So, you know," he said, stifling a grin. He looked closely at Nikki to see if she was really upset or was just teasing him. "So stacked," Nikki suggested. "Well, yeah," said Terry. Nikki burst out laughing. "You boys are all alike," she said. "I wonder who Justine asked to the party as her date." For the rest of the day, no one talked about anything but Justine and her party. Everyone had heard about it, even though not that many people had been invited. Just before the bell rang for the last period, Lisa Bloom stopped Terry in the hall. Lisa was assistant editor of the school paper, and she usually knew everything that was going on. In fact, she was a real gossip, except she called it being a reporter. "I hear you were invited to Justine's party," she said to Terry. "Why do you think she asked you?" "I don't have any idea," said Terry. "You're the reporter. Maybe you can tell me." "My theory is she wants to get to know people better," said Lisa. "But she's shy about it because of all the awful stories about the house where she lives." "What are you talking about?" "Don't you know?" said Lisa. "The last owners of the Cameron Mansion were killed in some kind of accident years ago. The story is that no one could ever live there again because their spirits haunt the place." "Nice story. So why is Justine living there?" asked Terry skeptically. Lisa shrugged. "According to my aunt, Justine is a distant cousin of the original owners. Her uncle inherited the place and decided to fix it up. I heard she lives there with her uncle." "He's her guardian," said Lisa. "I guess her parents are dead or divorced or something." Supposedly, Justine and her uncle have lived all over the country and even in Europe. Terry knew that Lisa's information was usually right, but he didn't see what Justine had to do with him and Nikki. He was still puzzling the matter over in biology class when Ricky Shore sat down next to him. Ricky was an obnoxious practical joker, and some people considered him the biggest dweeb in the whole school. Ricky's thick black hair was uncombed as usual, and as usual he was wearing a tacky t-shirt no one else would be caught dead in. This one was stained with orange juice and said, "Kiss me, I'm a Martian." "Hey, Shore," said Terry. "Yo, Terry," said Ricky. He set a rumpled paper sack down on the lab table, separating them. I heard you and Nikki got invited to Justine's party. That's right, said Terry. So did I, said Ricky. Huh. No bull. Terry was surprised. He couldn't imagine why Justine had chosen him and Nikki, but it was even weirder that she had asked Ricky and Trisha. None of them hung out together. I wonder who else is going, Ricky said. Have you heard? Nope, said Terry. How's your biology project coming? He asked, deliberately changing the subject. I'm just about done, said Ricky. In fact, I've got it in here. He pointed to the paper sack. Terry looked at the sack in disbelief. It was throbbing and beginning to inch across the lab table. I hate to tell you, he said, but your science project seems to be trying to escape. Ricky opened the sack. Instantly, a small green frog leapt out and began hopping along the table. Terry grabbed for it and held it distastefully in his hands. This is your biology project, sure? He said. A frog. It's not the whole thing, said Ricky, looking hurt. He reached in the bag and pulled out a jar of murky water. My project is on metamorphosis, he said. I've got tadpoles in here. Terry gazed at the jar doubtfully. You mean you had tadpoles, he said. Those aren't moving. Let me see, said Ricky. He took the jar and studied it closely, turning it first one way and then another. Then he shook it. I guess I should have cut air holes in the lid, he said finally. Oh, well, that's life, huh? Here today, slimy and disgusting tomorrow. I can always pick up some more at the pond. Terry handed him the frog, and he shoved it and the jar of dead tadpoles back into the sack. Great project, sure, Terry said sarcastically. Just call me Mr. Wizard, Ricky said. So who else is invited to the party? Ricky asked after a moment. I don't know, said Terry. Trisha McCormick. I don't know anyone else. Murphy Carter, said Ricky.